All right, friends. Hoping this works. Um, I think I've got all of the stuff set up. Looks like my mic is working. Looks like the video's working. So I'm hoping this time works around. We'll see what happens. But welcome to the first edition, episode, what have you, whatever we want to call it, of Ask Pastor Connor. We're going to be doing these at least once a month, and you can submit your questions. If you want to submit a question, there's somewhere on this Facebook page is a post. If you want to find the actual submission form on the Center Church website, go to centerchurchmeriden.org/online-church, and you can find it there. So this week's question, this month's question, whatever the timeline we're doing it is can pets go to heaven? And if not, where do they go? Which is a great question. I had a lot of fun thinking about this, so I'm excited to share kind of quick thoughts on that. So we celebrated Earth Day this past month, so that's kind of why I chose this, because it was only fitting to tackle a question that asks about animals, creation, what have you, after Earth Day. So to start, though, we kind of have to deconstruct or poke at what it means to go to heaven. It's a concept that is understood pretty differently by individuals, even within the same faith tradition. Much less, so diversely across faith traditions. And answering this question begs another question, which our questioner who asked this question also asked in a different question. I'll answer that more in depth maybe later. But the question of where is heaven, or even asking what is heaven? And to answer those questions, to answer the question of where or what heaven is bluntly, I would have to say, I have no idea. I have no idea. I've never been there before. So I really have no way of knowing what or where heaven is. Those who have gone before us know way better than those of us who are still alive and still on this earth. But we can and we do imagine. Popular imaginations of heaven include streets of gold, mansions for every person, pearly gates, all of those things. And really, what's captured in those imaginations is joy, unfiltered, unfettered joy. And we also imagine heaven out of our own experiences on earth. So we picture places, structures, memories, times in our life that we've known on earth. And that's kind of how we construct our imagination, and thus our imagination of what heaven might be. For me, when I think of heaven, I think of a transcendent beyond, not necessarily in any sort of form, but somewhere beyond, something beyond. And this assumes that heaven lies separate from this dimension, and that in our death, our souls are brought back to this transcendent place from which I believe our souls were born. Through creation, wisdom, and spirit, all three of which are parts of the Christian Trinitarian God, our souls animate our bodies and participate in this life within those vessels. We participate in life in these bodies, and in time, I believe, once our bodies kind of decay and grow old, our souls pass from that body back into the beyond. In the continual creation that God has participated in over thousands of years, there have been millions upon millions of forms of life on this planet. Plants, animals, other organisms have inhabited the earth long before humans. And so the concept of heaven likely didn't really exist prior to our existence as humans because of our self-awareness as humans. And so kind of to explain that, I have my cat Jupiter sitting kind of off screen right here. Jupiter doesn't think about these types of things, whether he's going to heaven. He thinks about what's comfy, what can I sit on, and when am I going to eat? And that's it. It's really simple, and it's kind of beautiful to think about, but we have kind of that next level ability to contemplate our consciousness, contemplate our mortality as well. And that leads to us imagining what lies beyond. Therefore, kind of picturing heaven and coming to the concept of heaven. But if we believe that God existed before us, then God must have existed before we conceived of the idea of heaven. And therefore, heaven, or that transcendent place, existed before humans too. And so we arrive now at the question of what happened to all that life prior to us. And that question will eventually lead us towards that original question of can pets go to heaven? Part of the answer, I kind of believe, lies in the fact that other creatures existed prior to humans, which to me means that God must have created those beings as well. Whether creatures like dinosaurs or any non-humans are created in the image of God, that's up for debate. I'm not going to answer that here. That's a really in-depth and kind of headspacey question. I believe, though, that they lived and breathed and participated in life in our universe. And since they were beings that exhibited life, I believe they must have some form of a soul as well, which in turn to me means that God had a hand in creating them. This would mean that my answer to the question then is yes. Animals and life of all kinds return to heaven. They come from heaven and they return to heaven. Our pets, the motivation behind this question is so pure because, our pets provide us with so much love and companionship during our life that we can't help but hope to encounter them in the next life because we miss them when they do die. We love them while they're here. And whether it's in their recognizable form or when our souls collide in the beyond, we hope to meet them again in some way, shape, or form. Don't know what that form looks like, but that's something we have to look forward to, certainly. And so I certainly believe that all creatures or things that exhibit signs of life in their own way find their life in God and eventually find their way back to God in the transcendent beyond that we call heaven.